This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Neese with the Raw Life Health Show, and I just wanted to make a quick video here about one of the greatest books I've ever read that changed my life because it helped me to introduce the daylight diet into my life. And the daylight diet is a book that I wrote that just describes or helps us get into the habit of eating in a more systematic way of our bodies that we should be eating. And I found this information out, number one, by reading the Holy Bible. And the Holy Bible, it talks about moderation in all things and temperance in all things. But my diet, when it switched to a raw food diet and raw vegan diet, I was eating way too much, too often, and too late. And as I continued to seek the desire to find books and information on the human body and health, I ran across books by a fellow named Arnold Ehret. One of them was called The Mucosist Diet Healing System. And the Mucosist Diet Healing System was a wonderful book that taught me a lot about the human body. And as I read this by this author who was from the early 1900s, so it was a really long time ago, I started to find more wisdom in older books than in the current books. In the current books today, it all seems they're trying to sell something from supplements to potions and all these other magical cures for the body. But after I read Arnold Ehret's book, and after I read the Bible, I realized the real testimonials and real cures were in older books. Well, I ran into a book about from a fellow who was writing, who wrote this book, and he spoke about the frequency of eating and not eating late at night. And the actual diet in his book was absolutely terrible. Based for what they had, the information, it's still not considered a healthy foods per se for the food. However, the timing of the food or the eating less of the food, the information was critical in my thinking of my life. And the outcome of this was where I am today. I'm eating, not only do I seek and desire to eat a daylight diet, but I've been eating for the last 6 or 7 months now, maybe 8 months now, every other day. So I fast every day. So far we're 4 months into this year. I've eaten only 2 months 2 months into the year. And that's 6 months of fasting every year by eating every other day. And eating less frequently it lets the body and allows the body to do what it was designed to do. So I feel so blessed by that. So I want to introduce this book today because there was a time I was on a book tour and I was traveling and I was selling these books, and somebody recently sent me a whole box of these books. The books are out of print, but I had them reprinted up, and I actually wrote the forward for this book. The book is called "This Talks About People's Stomachs" by a fellow named Dio Lewis. And if you go into the book here, you can see the forward was written right there, forward by Paul Neese. So I wrote the forward for the rewriting of this book, not the original of this book. This was reprinted up in 2009, originally written in 1870. And Dr. Lewis, or he's not a doctor, well, might be a doctor. He's a very popular figure in United States history because he was in charge of the temperance movement, or he was one of the leaders of the temperance movement. And again, the food that he talks about in this book is not ideal by any circumstance, and I'm not agreeable with it. However, the frequency of the meals that we eat and not eating late at night, folks, besides the Bible, this is where I got the information for my book, The Daylight Diet. And that book continues to be one of my best sellers. And in my own personal life, it continues to work great. Now, if you go to the link under the video here on YouTube and also on the Raw Life Health Show, you can actually purchase this book now. This last box that somebody had recently sent me that I've been traveling on the road with that I didn't even know I still had. So I wanted to let people know about it. I have about 20 copies left of this book only. And talks about people's stomach. Now, let me just read the back of this book just to give you an idea what it's about and who Mr. Lewis is. It says, written in 1870, one of Mr. Lewis's first lines is a quote from Hippocrates. Without health, we can enjoy no future, honors, or riches. And all the other advantages are useless. It is the aim of this book to show the simple and natural means by which the stomach may be kept in a healthy condition. Dr. Dio Lewis, has a keen eye on looking into the facial characteristics of people. He claimed if we were to watch people, we should be able to determine the condition uh, of their stomachs. Even though this book carries a strong health message for all of us, one cannot help but pick up the author's sense of humor. This book is about stomachs, and we all have one. Gas in the stomach is addressed as noises in the bowels. However, so perfectly described, one cannot help but laugh while reading this informative chapter. Dale stresses the importance of care of teeth. Chapters address meats, grains, water drinking, digestion, to the processing of foods we eat. We can choose a short life and a merry one, or a long life and a merry one. Diet, uh, alterations of food are also addressed in the story and example. From sleep to digestion, this book is a treasure of information. Remember, this book was written in 1870. And what he speaks about pretty much in this book is, and I'm not in full agreement with the concept of what you can eat, but he says you can eat whatever you want as long as you don't eat at nighttime, you're going to be healthy. And we know that's not true today because there are some foods that are very detrimental to our health. But the concept and what he was trying to talk about is in the late 1800s, believe it or not, people started to overconsume their food more than they ever had in the history of man. And people started to get the common diseases that you see today. They started to become popular in the early 1900s and the late 1800s. And this fellow's take on it was people started to eat late at night as electricity became more popular and people were staying up later at night, eating later at night, as people weren't getting enough sunlight. I remember an example he gives in a book of a fellow that was very sick, and he investigated and said, well, when did you get sick? And he said, well, the fellow had moved his desk office, away from the window in the office to a room with no windows. And he said, you need to move your desk back to where the window is and look at the sunshine every day. And the next thing you know, the man got healed. With the same concept is everything that's under a tree, a big shade tree, the grass is dead and everything under there is dead. You move it out a little into the sunlight and you start to see things start to grow and things start to thrive. Well, it's the same idea with eating. And when you're eating late at night, when it's dark outside, it's not the time for the body to digest food. It's the time for the body to be resting, sleeping, and recuperating and healing. And when we eat when the sun is out or in the daytime hours, that's when the body is able to thrive and do what it was meant to do. You see, there's a system to the body and a way and a time the body's supposed to be working. And when we follow that, we start to see the beautiful blessing of good health and experiencing it. And the body can deal with so much. And I say often, some people think it's amazing that somebody can eat a raw food diet and get better from something like cancer. And I say it's amazing that somebody can eat McDonald's and not get cancer. And so the body's really an amazing organism. And it takes you have to work really hard to get sick, folks. You have to work extremely hard to get sick. If you do nothing, you'll probably be healthy. You have to overindulge in a lot of food day after day for your body to break down and get it sick. Nobody gets a heart attack from smoking one cigarette, and nobody gets cancer from eating one hamburger. People get these diseases by doing this stuff over and over and over and over again. And eventually the body can no longer deal with it and take care of it. Arnold Ehret's formula for health talks about power minus obstruction equals vitality. And we're all born with a tremendous amount of energy. We have very little obstruction, which is the stress in our life, whether the stress from consuming the wrong foods too often or the stress from not dealing with our emotions correctly. Once these things start to move, once your amount of obstruction passes your amount of energy to get rid of it, you start experiencing disease. First, it's the smallest stages, but if you don't do anything about it, it keeps going and going and going. Eventually, you're at the latest stage of disease with your body having no energy to get rid of it. And then you're in a bad situation. But as soon as you start eliminating the things that are creating a problem, the energy can come back. Let me give you another example, folks. We all have cell phones today. When you go to sleep at night, what do? You plug in your cell phone. Why? So when you wake up in the morning, it's fully charged. So you can go along your day with a fully charged cell phone. If you forget to plug your cell phone in before you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning and your cell phone has very little charge to it. Your cell phone might even be dead. It's the same way with our bodies. We need a time to recuperate every single night. So when we wake up in the morning, our body is fully charged to do the job it was meant to do. And when it does that job, it's going to be most efficient at digestion and everything else. And the more we give the body what it needs and avoid what the body doesn't need, the better chance it's going to have to do the job it was meant to do. And one of the greatest things we can do for our health is not eat late at night. And one of the greatest things we can do for health is understand the concept of not giving the body more, but giving the body less. If you're eating high quality foods, you don't need to give the body an abundant amount of these things. And if you're not eating high quality food, you definitely shouldn't be giving the body a high quality amount of these things. So this book is tremendous, and I've been putting into practice not only the daylight diet, but more important, the idea uh, of, of systematic eating, or you want to call it fasting, or you want to call it just eating smaller amounts. It's proven now about calorie restrictive diets. I've already spoke about when you're reducing this, how you got to work up to it and not just do it overnight. And I talk about that in my book, The Daylight Diet. But this is just an excellent work, and I want people to read it for motivation and inspiration, to understand that we can heal. I would say half the amount of diseases people suffer from today, whether it's insomnia, obesity, and every other disease, can be cured by just not eating late at night. And what does late at night mean? It doesn't mean midnight. I mean, even eating 8 or 9 o'clock at night on a regular basis is not healthy. And a great way to dictate this is understand that our Creator works in tune with the seasons. And in the summertime, the foods that grow locally are usually more digestible, and we can eat more of them. The days are longer. In the winter times, the foods that usually grow locally are heavier, but the days are shorter. And if we're only eating during the daytime hours, we can get along with eating a lot less, and they're more sustainable foods, so we don't need to feel that need for food as much. And it just works great. And the outcome is there are people that have been living this way, eating less and thriving. I have learned this information when I wrote my book, The Raw Life. I interviewed several people. One of them was a doctor named Dr. Fred Bishey, who's still alive now. He's 88 years old, and he's in New York City. He's been eating a restricted diet of just high quality fruits and vegetables for over 60 years. And the amount of energy he has for somebody his age is probably the energy for somebody I know on a standard American diet half his age. And, and it works. It's working for me currently. It's working for people that are doing it. We just have to just really eliminate the idea of overindulgence, and we could do better. So I want to the link again is below the video if you want to get this book. I only have 20 copies left. It's a great book. You could also get my book, The Daylight Diet, as well. And Dr. Dio Lewis was such an important person in history of the United States in terms of some of the things that he did. But I decided to write this book because, or write the forward for this book, because it helped me tremendously in my own life, and I want people to be blessed by the understanding of eating less, and just not only eating less, drinking less, and just getting more out of life and spending more time doing things than just eating. And I'll only give you one Bible verse before I finish up here today. The book of Job says, "I esteem the words of his mouth more than my necessary food." You know, food is sustenance for life as well, but our Creator says that we aren't to be gluttons, and too many people are overeating today. We have more books on obesity than ever before in the history of man, of how to deal with this. But at the same time, we have more people obese than ever before in the history of man. People are simply eating too much, too often, and too late, and we need to eat less. And I say, listen to our stomachs. And one of my most amazing, greatest health tips I give people is, when you stand sideways without any clothes on and you look in the mirror, if your gut is bigger than your chest, then something is not right. It's the greatest way your stomach can speak to you. You know, we eat with our eyes. Well, we should have health with our eyes. And when you're standing sideways, you should have a flat stomach. And I got to be honest with you, folks, even on a raw vegan diet, I had a gut. My stomach wasn't flat because of not following food combining, but more important, eating too late at night. And then started not eat late at night. I still had somewhat of a gut because I was just eating too much during the daytime. But finally, when I decided to do what I'm doing now, and now I'm just people are eating once a day or just not eating at all. This intermittent fasting is tremendous. And for the first time in my life, somebody who suffered from inflammatory bowel disease and ulcerative colitis, which is inflammation of the colon, for the first time in my life, I don't have a gut anymore, and I feel so much greater than I've ever felt before in my life. And how are we supposed to feel worse when we get older? But here I am. I'm a lot older now than I've been when I started this diet, and I feel better than ever. So eating less. Look at my other videos about what I'm doing with my diet now and why I only eat every other day. I'll put a link up here to that as well. Why I only eat every other day and what I eat when I do eat. I got some more videos coming up real soon about this topic. But there's only 20 books left, so go get this at the website, rawlife.com. Rawlife.com. The book is called Talks About People's Stomachs. All right. And if you're a member to the Raw Life Health Show, you can get 10% off. rawlifehealthshow.com. If you're a member, you get 10% off everything on rawlife.com. All right, everybody, make it a blessed day out there today. Enjoy your food, get good quality food, but do not eat too much of it. All right. Until then, everybody, have a great day and a great raw life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.